Stand by.
Loading. Loading complete.
30.
29. 28.
27.
26. 25. 24.
20.
22.
21. 20. 19. 18.
17.
16. 15. 14. 13.
12.
11.
9. 8. 7. 6. 5.
4.
2.
1. Now for what you've all been waiting for.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Good morning, good day, good evening, good night, the living dead. And hello to anybody out there who sees us in the future. Just remember, send more paramedics. Hello, Journey. Nice to have you here. I guess we get to the song. Every morning, every evening, 8 we got brains. Not much money, yo, but honey, 8 we got brains. The rent's unpaid, dear. We haven't a bus. The smiles were made, dear, for people like us. In winter and summer, don't we have brains? Times are bombing, getting bomber. Still we have brains. There's nothing sure. The rich get rich and the poor get poor. In between time, ain't we got brains? Tax collectors getting closer. Still we have brains. Twins and cares, dear, come in pairs, dear. Don't we have brains? We've only started, no, we're not downhearted. When I'm laid off, I'll be paid off. Ain't we got brains? Times madden, getting madder. Ain't we got brains? Times are bad and getting badder. Still we have brains. There's nothing sure. The rich get rich and the poor get poor. Meantime, between time, ain't we got brains? Yeah. Well, as you can probably see from the title, well, this one's going to be a zombie fest. Yes, couple of my favorite zombie flicks being covered tonight. And let's see here. Later on, in Cosmic Theta Theater, which I'll send you guys to after I'm done here, he was going to be doing Return of the Living Dead as well. It looks like he's changed. Theta has changed his schedule to be Day of the Dead. I may be joining him later on if I don't completely wear myself out on the stream. So with that said, let's get on to what the wheel set has to say. Love you truly. I love you truly, truly, dear. Life with its sorrows, life with its tears, fade into dreams when I have you near. For I love you truly, truly, dear. Our love, 'tis something to feel your kind hand. Ah, yes, is something to be by your side. Gone is the sorrow, gone doubt and fear, for you love me truly, truly, dear. I'm not satisfied with just that song. It's too short. I think I screwed it up a little bit. Another song. What else we get? Genie with light brown hair. I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, born like a vapor on the summer air. I see her tripping where the bright streams play, happy as the daisies that dance on her way. Many were the wild notes her merry voice would pour, many were the blithe birds that warbled them o'er. Oh, I dream of Jeannie with the light brown hair, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air. I long for Jeannie with a day-dawn smile, radiant in gladness, warm with wit and guile. I hear her melodies like joys gone by, sighing round my heart, oh, the fond hopes that die. Sighing like the night wind, sobbing like the rain, wailing for the lost one that comes not again. Oh, I long for Jeannie, and my heart bows low, never more to find her where that bright waters flow. I sigh for Jeannie, but her light form strayed far from the fond hearts around her native glade. Her smiles have vanished, her sweet song flown, flitting like the dreams that have cheered us and gone. Now the nodding wildflowers may wither on the shore, while her gentle fingers will cull them no more. Oh, I sigh for Jeannie, the light brown hair, floating like a vapor on the soft summer air. Okay, well, getting into, I guess I'll get into our first topic here. Fortunately, we lost a legend. Yes, she's a legend, and to me at least. We have June Lockhart, beloved mom, and Lassie in Lost in Space, dies at 100 years old. June Lockhart, affectionately known as Lassie's mom, to a generation of baby boomer, is for her portrayal of Ruth Martin in the long running series has died. She was 100. Lockhart, famous for playing other nurturing characters on two other CBS shows in 1960s. He's matri- matriarch matriarch on the sci-fi drama Lost in Space, and the Lady Doctor on the rural sitcom um, Petticoat Junction. Died Thursday of natural causes at her home in Santa Monica, a family spokesperson announced. Her father was the great character actor Gene Lockhart. He received an Oscar nomination in 1939 for Algiers, and appears in such classics as His Girl Friday, Abe Lincoln in Illinois, Meet John Doe, and Miracle on 34th Street. Her mother was actress Kathleen Lockhart, Lady in the Lake. Her parents, who were introduced to each other by a Thomas Edison when and he brainstormed for him as he trotted out one of his inventions. Thomas Edison, really. And the photograph appeared together as husband and wife, if Bob and Emily. He caught it in MGM's A Christmas Carol in 1938. In June, May made her movie debut when the film was one of their kids. Did not know that. You could say, hey, I am one of Edison's good ideas, as she often said. Well, I could be taking it in the wrong way. Before she hit 25, the wholesome and bright-eyed Lockhart also appeared in All This in Heaven and Two from 1940. Opposite Charles Boyer and Davis. This is Gary Cooper's sister in Sergeant in York, 1941. As Lucille Ball Allard in the beautiful first misjudged by Judy Garland in Meet Me in St. Louis in 1944, and a woman convinced she's a monster in the Universal horror film She-Wolf of London in 1946. And as a supportive wife in Seven Men from 1947, directed by Anthony E. Mann. Lockhart, who had a supporting role in MGM's 1945 sequel Son of Lassie, became a household name in America soon after replacing Cloris Leachman as Ruth at the start of Lassie's fifth season in September 1958. She had been approached before Leachman accepted the role, but had turned it down. I thought about what I had been offered and said to myself, what am I being so damn brand about? She once recalled, I have two children to support. The part that they want me to play has a lot of dignity. The show was already on the air. I wouldn't have to film a pilot. They have a sponsor. This is a really great gift that it has been offered to me. Lockhart gave substance to a strong farm wife, always worried about whether her husband, Hugh Riley, he could bring in the bean crop. Their adopted son, Timmy, really, he was adopted in that story. I didn't know that. Was played by John Provost, who had joined in the series a season earlier, at age 7, as an orphan runaway. I guess I need to get caught up on my Lassie lore. Lockhart portrayed Ruth on more than 200 episodes and received an Emmy nomination in 1959. During her run, Four Pooches played Lassie. Soon after the start of the 1964 to 1965 season, Lockhart, Riley, and Provost were written out as the boy and his dog. Theme was, excuse me. Starting about, where was I? Soon after the start of the 1964 to 1965 season, Lockhart, Riley, and Provost were written out as the boy and his dog. Dog theme was jettisoned in favor of the collie being paired with a Forest Service ranger, Robert Bray. The family was moving to Australia, and the dog couldn't come with them, viewers were told. I certainly enjoyed Lassie. I'd be with it yet if they hadn't changed the format, she said decades later. Lockhart wasn't out of work for long, quickly moving to another motherly role. The biochemist, Miss Maureen Robinson, on the 1965 to 1968 series Lost in Space. This is actually where I know her better from. She was offered the part right after appearing on an episode of another Irwin and Ellen produced series, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Her husband on the show was Professor John Robinson, Guy Williams. They and their three children, played by Marta Kristen, Angela Cartwright, and Billy Mooney, were stranded after their spacecraft was set off course by a stowaway, Jonathan Harris, during a colonization mission. After Lost in Space was cancelled, Lockhart joined in Petticoat Junction and during its sixth season as Janet Craig, who arrived in Hooterville to replace the town's retiring Doc Stewart. Regis is Tommy Toonley. The lived at the Shady Rest Hotel. She affectionately replaced actress Miss B. Andret, who had died in October 1968, and remained with the comedy until it ended in 1970. June Lockhart was born on June 25th, 1925. I wonder if that's where they got their name. Oh wait, yes, they did. In New York City, the only child of her parents, who were married the previous June. Obviously, that month was a big for them. I would say so. At age 8, she appeared in a pantomime scene in Peter Edelson at the Metropolitan Opera House, where she was studying ballet. Her father, a founding member of SAG, signed in with MGM, and the family headed into Southern California in 1934. Lockhart attended the Westlake School of Girls, was living there 5 days a week. He can spend weekends and holidays with her folks water skiing on Lake Arrowhead. She made her Broadway debut in 1947, playing in Genius in the comedy For Love or Money, and was an overnight toast of the Great Eight Way, winning the first Tony ever presented for outstanding performance by a newcomer. A Donaldson Award and a Theatre World Award. The Associated Press honored her as Woman of the Year for Drama. In the 1950s, Lockhart worked mainly in television, and with appearances on such shows as Zane Grey Theater, Wagon and Train, Gunsmoke, Studio No. 1 in Hollywood, and the United States Steel Hour. When Fran Nelson took time off, she stepped into work with the puppet. It's on Kukla. Fran and Ollie. Later, she served as a regular host on beauty pageants and holiday parades. More recently, Lockhart appeared intermittently. He is matriarch Maria Ramirez in General Hospital and guest starred as Ryan Stiles' mother on the Drew Carey Show. As a Tanner girl who's kindergarten teacher on Full House, and as the grandmother of Tori Spelling on Beverly Hills 90210. She was one of the television moms featured on the 1995 episode of Roseanne. In the 1998 Lost in Space movie, she had a cameo with Principal Cartwright. I remember that cameo. Terrible movie, but oh well. One of her daughter is actress is Anne Lockhart, who has appeared on scores of shows, including Battlestar Galactica and Chicago Fire. They worked together in Magnum PI and in the 1986 sci-fi film Troll. I remember Troll. And Troll, for so Harry Potter. Harry Potter. So, survivors include her other daughter, June, and four her grandchildren. Hmm. While working on Lost in Space, Lockhart developed a fascination for science and outer space. I'd imagine that would do it. She brought her celebrity he, to NASA and spent a lot of time in Houston and elsewhere, making appearances at dinners and conversations, mixing in with the astronauts and their wives. The agency honored her with its Exceptional Public Achievement Medal in 2013. Her father had written in the lyrics to the 1919 ballad, "The world is waiting for the sunrise," recorded by Edison in his first recording intervention, later performed by Benny Goodman, Les Paul, and Mary Ford with and Willie Nelson, among others. After Lockhart brought it to the attention of NASA in 1992, the agency used the song to make the crew of the Columbia Space Shuttle each day. Mommy always considered acting as her craft, her vocation, but her true passion was journalism, politics, science, and NASA. Her daughter June said in a statement, she cherished playing her role in Lost in Space. She was delighted to know that she inspired many future astronauts as they would remind her on visits to NASA. That's pretty awesome. I mean, means even more to her than the hundreds of television and movies roles she'd played. Yeah, that mean more to me as well, I think. That is one person who definitely deserves the song. Let's see here. I guess the Parting Glass, usual song. Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm I've ever done, alas, it was to none but me, and all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health whatever befall, and gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink with that will e'er befall, and gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Good night and joy be to you all. Ah, remember Annie and Sheba and Battlestar Galactica? Yeah. Let's get this thing loaded up. Okay, I think, yeah. Well, I think I'm going to do Danny Boy as well. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, and when the valley is hushed with whitened snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I well may be, ye will come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I shall hear through soft ye tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me. I'm still screwing these songs up. Alright. Let's get a drink. So if you happen to have the drink out there, got my tell them what to do. Now let's see here. Get the next thing lined up here. Now let's see if I can get this to work. All right. Now I'll be playing Return of the Living Dead, but I'm going to be keeping it muted because there is a couple of copyrighted songs on this show. Yeah, we gotta be careful of that stuff. You know, too much of it will kill you. As I was saying, I'll be playing Night of the Living Dead here while I talk, as much as I get to it at least. The movie itself is in public domain. I'll get into reasons a little bit later. But like I said, there are a couple of copyright songs in the movie, so I'll be playing this on mute. Now, movie in 1968, George A. Romero redefined what a zombie was with his movie Night of the Living Dead. Although the movie he was never referred to the undead as zombies, Romero used the term ghouls or flesh eaters. The term zombie he was influenced by critics of the film, a term Romero who initially rejected but eventually accepted. Night of the Living Dead was one of the most profitable indie movies ever made. With a budget of of 114,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly $1 million. It grossed around 30 million. Again, adjusted for inflation, that's around 280 million in today. So that means it made over 263 times its budget. Unfortunately for Romero, the movie ended up in the public domain due to an oversight. Hope you hear that at YouTube. Unlike certain copyright acts of 1970, the Act of 1909 required certain actions. The movie originally had the title Night of the Flesh Eaters, but they made a last-minute change to this title due to a movie with a similar title existing. When they made this change, they forgot to include the copyright notice, and by doing so, put the film in the public domain. And once something is in the public domain, it can't be removed from the public domain. The character of Ben was originally written as a crude, angry truck driver who was also quite resourceful. He would have been played by Rudy Riki. Riki ended up playing a zombie and had bit roles in several other movies in the Dead series. Romero didn't have a specific race in mind for the character when Dwayne Jones was given the role. Jones expressed concern about how angry the character was and requested a few changes to Ben's character, such as the scene where Ben hits Barbara, afraid of how it would be widely perceived in the United States at the time to see a black man acting in this way. The nation was still plagued with high racial tensions during the late 60s. The film was released in theaters shortly after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Nonetheless, Romero and most of the rest of the predominantly white crew decided against it, thinking they were being hip by not changing it. Years later, George Romero lamented that he had not taken Jones's concerns more into consideration, and thought that he was probably correct. However, Romero did rewrite the role to fit Jones's performance. They're coming to get you, Barbara. They've been dead for a long time. Why, look, there's one of them now. An alternate, happier ending for the character of Ben was once considered, but Jones actively fought for the grim, heartbreaking ending that the film concluded with. I convinced George that the black community he would rather see me dead than saved. After all that he had gone on, after all that had gone on, in a corny and symbolically confusing way, the heroes never die in American movies. The jolt of that, and the double jolt of the hero being black, seemed like a double-barrel old whammy. Interesting way to look at it. This is the only movie in George Romero's Dead series to use the word living dead in the title. The reason for this is that Romero and co-writer John Russo, who later developed separate ideas for sequels. To set them apart, it was decided that Romero's loosely connected movies would use "of the Dead" in the title, whereas Russo's movie would have titles with the "of the Living Dead" in them. Furthermore, Russo's The Return of the Living Dead in 1985 was rewritten to take place in a different universe and have a much lighter tone than the Dead series. I'm not so sure if the tone. Well, some of them did manage to get that light tone. Let's look at a few of the other tidbits I have here, since we have the time. Yes, the attack. This is actually a good point for me to talk about here. We'll wait for the scene to come first. There. Okay. That scene right there where he threw the rock through the window, that was Romero himself filming that. And the rock nearly hit Romero during the filming. When the zombie uses assault at the house at the end of the film, Barbara snaps out of her derangement. Survival instinct kicks in, and she reacts next to the zombie with anger and rage, fighting with everything she's got to keep them away. This is a leftover her concept for one of the from Miro's earlier draft strips, which would have featured Barbara as a far more empowered and strong character. This trait was later used in the 1990 remake by Tom Savini, which I do recommend. That was probably one of the about the only remakes of Night of the Living Dead I've seen that was really good. So if you haven't seen the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, I definitely recommend checking it out. Here's another very interesting. Let's see if I can get to the. Actually, let me skip ahead here and get to the part. There's Ben. Here, go with this. All right, the father here, Carl Hardman. Interestingly enough, the daughter that they have in this movie, of his that's sick in the basement, that is his real life daughter. Well, George A. Romero wasn't able to cast Betty Alderlin. She was in the role of playing on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Fred Rogers wouldn't allow her to take the role, because he wanted to keep her appearances up for the show. Rogers was a fan of both the film, both Night of the Living Dead and the 1978 Dawn of the Dead. With Rogers calling the latter a lot of fun. Fred Rogers gave Romero one of his first jobs on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood by directing a segment about Rogers undergoing tonsillectomy. Yeah, imagine that. The guy who made a quintessential zombie movie also worked and directed a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episode. While this is considered the first film in the Living Dead trilogy, he followed by Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead in 1985, which apparently we'll be able to watch later on tonight if you follow over to Data of the Grid's channel. The films are only connected to each other thematically and are not a continuous story. I suppose some of those ones, the Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and or Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, could kind of interconnect. But there's been a whole bunch of other Dead movies since then too, and some of them definitely do not connect to each other. The basement set it was not part of the farmhouse, which didn't even have a basement. Stravinsky he built and framed the door as seen in the film that supposedly led to the basement, but it's just a fixed into the wall. The basement set was the basement of the crew's offices in Pittsburgh. Yeah, this part here they're talking about the whole thing. It's been strongly implied that the cause of the zombie outbreak was due to radiation brought from Venus from a satellite. Originally when it was Night of the Flesh Eaters, it was going to be an alien pathogen, and I don't think it was supposed to be zombies at the time. While filming when filming the final zombie attack scene, George Romero, who did not inform Dwayne Jones, Ben, in that Kyra show Karen would sneak up and grab him from behind, which resulted in an authentically shocked reaction from the actor, who was not expecting the child zombie. Similarly, Romero also did this to Ken Forey, Peter, during the filming of Dawn of the Dead, 1978, when the child zombies attacked Peter at the airport or office. So let's see if we can get that scene. Oh, there's a scene where the daughter's attacking everybody. Graveyard zombie coming in. Okay. Let's see here. Where's that scene? Now let's watch from here. Let's see here. I don't know if you've never seen this movie in full. Well, I definitely recommend checking it out. Well, zombies busting in, and here's her brother, and she basically loses her mind in seeing her brother as a zombie. Now, interestingly enough, this is the last time we see Barbara in the movie. And it does kind of look like she got ate there. Oh, there it is. Dwayne didn't. So that reaction where he's freaking out of the girl grabbing her was real. Well, I probably shouldn't have the gun and stuff in here too much. But at any rate, let's move on to the next portion of this. In 1985, we released The Return of the Living Dead. Despite The Return of the Living Dead being a dark comedy, I personally find it to be one of the scariest movies to have been made, or scariest zombie movies to be made. That is because of the nature of the zombies. These zombies aren't mindless. They're conscious, thinking, calculating. They crave brain means like an addiction. And the reason they crave brains is that it hurts to be dead. They can feel themselves rotting. And eating brains makes the pain go away, but only temporarily. These zombies weren't moaning. They were screaming. Only the movie barely the movie barely touched on the true scope of the situation they were in. The trioxin didn't just bring human corpses back to life, it brought everything back to life. As we see with the split dog, and with the butterfly is on the pin board. The butterfly is moving on the pin board. When it contaminated the rundown cemetery, there must have been dead animals around someplace. Zombie birds, raccoons, possums, swarms of zombie ants and roaches. They would have all been out there craving brains. This movie showed us a major biological disaster with the inevitable outcome of constant suffering. This, personally, was one of the most haunting scenes for me. When the paramedics turned on the headlights of the ambulance, and a horde of zombies were just standing there or waiting. Originally, they had planned for the zombie he's standing there to be not much more than skeletons, but they didn't have the budget, so they just had a bunch of extras stand there covered in mud. I personally think the way he shot it made the scene scarier. It made the zombies more human. Send more paramedics. There's a misconception in that Night of the Living Dead introduced the idea of brain-eating zombies. This was the Return of the Living Dead that invented and popularized this notion of zombies eating brains, as opposed to flesh eating. With the zombie, he's screaming, "Brains!" Also, the first film to ever show zombie he's being able to run, as well as being able to speak, having more than just base animal instincts. Unlike most zombie movies that feature the undead, the word zombie is actually said in this movie by Freddy during his discussion with Frank in the office about how the movie Night of the Living Dead couldn't have possibly been based on a true case, since it depicts zombies taking over the world. Of course, Frank says, "Yeah, well, they sue him, so they just he changed the story all around. They changed all the facts around. So, but the real story is down in the basement." The fictional Darrow chemical company, which manufactured 2,4,5-trioxin in the film, is based on the Dow Chemical Company, which in reality manufactured a chemical defoliant in the 1960s, commonly known as Agent Orange, a 50-50 mix of 24D and 245T, and used to strip jungles in the Vietnam War. It caused a lot of adverse health effects and is no longer used, although it was used extensively in New Zealand up until the 1980s, where it was manufactured in New Plymouth and sold under the name Torden and Brush Killer. The character Ernie is thought to be a Nazi, and the director Dan O'Bannon, and in the DVD commentary, confirms this, saying Ernie was intended to be an escaped Nazi in hiding. Some of the indicators include him listening to the German Afrika Korps march song, Panzer Roland in the Afrika War, and on his Walkman, and while he embalms a body, as we can see in the shot here, he carries a German Walther P-38, having a picture of Eva Braun in his morgue. I believe you can see the picture here in the background here. And refers to the rainstorm coming down like a drunken soldier in German. Yes, I had to censor it. Hey, everybody, I'm sorry about that. If you want to see the full little boobage and beaver, you're gonna have to watch the movie. When shooting trashes his gravestone in Dan's, she initially he was completely naked and showed pubic hair, as was more the norm in the early 80s. However, producer Graham Henderson visited the shoot that day, and according to himself and others, threw a fit, yelling at Bannon that you can't show pubic hair on television. Dan sent Linney, who played Trash, away and had her completely shaved, which coincidentally Linney herself found to be the most embarrassing part of the whole thing. They did another shoot, to which Graham Henderson cried out, "Oh God, it's even worse. You can see everything." At that point, they sent Linney over to Bill Ullman and William Stout, where they made a crotch piece resembling the bottom of a G-string and glued it on. According to Linnea, he, according to Linnea, this was a bit of a problem since every time she had to go to the bathroom, they had to remove it. Because of this, there are no shots of Linnea with a completely naked crotch area. Like a department store mannequin, Linnea joked once she had once that she had never had more attention focused on her vagina than when they were shooting that scene. O'Bannon said he hadn't anticipated so many women going to see the movie. If he had, he would have given Freddie a nude scene. So Dan O'Bannon, in short-sighted, spared us from seeing Freddie's junk. I'm guessing it would have been after he was zombified, considering how early on in the movie that happens. So, yeah, we would have seen zombie junk. Yes, this guy's seen. O'Bannon wasn't very fond of the skeleton coming out of the ground, and he didn't realize it was a final shot. But it ended up being a shot that marketed the movie. He's a pretty gruesome looking skeleton. This was the final film with Kathleen Cordell, who played the Colonel's wife, Ethel. So that's her final role right there. Well, there is one other scene later on where she's in bed and overhearing her husband talk about how they found the zombies and they got loose. Alan Trotman, who worked as a puppeteer for Jim Henson's Muppets, played the Tar Man, and due to how thin he was, allowing him to portray a skeletal zombie without adding too much bulk to the costume. He played the role of a tar man in two who more of the Living Dead in two more of the Living Dead sequels as well. In I believe it was Return of the Living Dead 2 and Return of the Living Dead Brave to the Grave. Though I would definitely recommend in those last two movies avoiding them at all costs. They sucked. Not sucked brains. I'm doing too much singing in this one, so let's get to a song. And I'm not gonna see if I can go up to it tonight. Let's see here. Where are you? There we are. Give my regard. I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry, on the wrong part here. Redo. Did you ever see two Yankees part upon a foreign shore? When the good ship's just about to start for old New York once more. With tear-dimmed eyes, they say goodbye. They're friends, without a doubt. When the man on the pier shouts, "Let them clear," as the ship strikes out. Give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. Say hello to the old Coney Island if there you chance to be. When you're at the Wardrough, have a smile and charge it up to me. Mention my name every place you go, as around the town you roam, which you call on my gal. Now remember, old pal, when you get back home, give my regards to Broadway. Remember me to Herald Square. Tell all the gang at 42nd Street that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to Broadway and say that I'll be there ere long. Double check here. Okay, good. I'm still online. Yes, I am still having some electrical problems here. So I'm never entirely certain and when my power is going to go out partially in the house and I'll lose my internet. What we got here? Now go down, and Mr. McGee. He hadn't had any thoughts since 43. His brain is a portrait of atrophy. He ain't using it. Why not give it to me? Voltaire. There, I believe he debuted that song on Billy and Mandy, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. That's actually where I first heard Voltaire. Love his stuff. Let's do one more song. Actually, instead of going on the wheel. And do you know what? And do you know what it is to put an American in the forefront of the nuclear nations? And what is it that will make it possible to spend $20 billion of your money and to put some clown on the moon? Well, it's good old American know-how. That's what. That's provided by good old Americans like Dr. Werner von Braun. Gather round while I sing you a Werner von Braun, a man whose allegiance is ruled by expedience. Call him a Nazi, he won't even frown. Nazi smatzy, says Werner von Braun. Don't say that he's hypocritical. Say that rather that he's apolitical. Once the rackets got up, who cares where they come down? It's not my department, says Werner von Braun. Some have harsh words for this man of renown, but some think our attitude should be one of gratitude, like the widows and cripples in old London town, who owe their large pensions to Werner von Braun. You too may be a big hero once you've learned to count backwards to 0. In German and English, I know how to count down, and I'm learning Chinese, says Werner von Braun. Nice to have you here, Porpoise. It's always good to have Porpoise in our lives. I figured I wanted to kind of finish things off a little bit here with some my own little fan theories. There's a surprisingly consistent pseudoscience in the Return of the Living Dead series. Two key revelations from the sequels, Return of the Living Dead 2 and 3, are that high voltage electricity renders zombies inert, and the true craving is not for brains themselves, but the neural electricity the brain produces. Trioxin, the chemical catalyst that it's behind in the undead plague, appears to hyperstimulate every cell in the body, amplifying the torment of undeath. A modest electrical pulse can dial all this back just enough to grant relief, while a massive surge which overloads the system entirely, forcing temporary or possibly permanent shutdown. This opens the door to an idea for containment and cleanup. The raw output of the human brain generates roughly 10 to 20 microwatts of bioelectricity during normal activity. Even a basic TENS unit used for pain management in living patients delivers around 25,000 microwatts at low output, orders of magnitude more than the human brain. For a zombie, this level of input could fully numb the trioxin-induced agony, effectively sedating them without the need for constant brain feeding. Evidence from the original film supports a precise dosage window. In the interrogation scene with the captured zombie, the relief from a fresh brain lasts about 2.5 minutes on screen, from her first euphoric bite to the resurgence of her hunger. Factoring in an unshown time skip, transporting her to the embalming table and being restrained, we can conservatively estimate that a roughly 20 microwatt sustained discomfort for around 6 minutes. Scaling this up, a compact battery-powered device could maintain a zombie in a docile, pain-free state indefinitely, so long as the batteries last, which I imagine would be quite a long time since they need such a low dosage. With their human-level intelligence intact, treated zombies would revert to rational behavior, indistinguishable from the living in social settings. Except for the whole rotting part. Of course, biohazard protocols would still demand quarantine, but This opens a pragmatic path forward. Repurpose the undead as a cleanup crew. Imagine a small squad of sedated zombies is deployed to mop up outbreaks. Already deceased, they'd be invisible to feral zombie animals such as undead dogs, raccoons, and other suffering human zombies. Equipped with high output cattle prods for large threats and compact EMP emitters to fry insect hordes en masse, and so they could neutralize and clean up contaminated zones with minimum human risk. Another theory I have on the dormant and zombies sealed in the toxin canisters. The environment is a pressurized atmosphere saturated with a gas. I believe this causes them to enter a catatonic freeze. The zombie he trapped inside is experiencing sensory overload. The constant trioxin barrage is short-circuiting their hyperactive cells into stasis. Finally, there seems to be inconsistency in retcons in the third movie in transmission. But a closer look, I think you can reveal those in-universe logic tied to degradation. In the first two films, the gas is decades old, tinged greenish from chemical breakdown, at least possibly from chemical breakdown, uh, weathered by time, and in the first movie, diluted further in rainwater. Exposure requires direct, sustained exposure to trigger zombification. Contrast this with part 3, where a bite is sufficient to turn someone into a zombie. If you watch carefully, the trioxin is fresh from a modern canister in a nearly colorless white vapor. This could mean it's far more volatile. I believe a single bite, dooming the victim, transmit its trace residues through the saliva to the body, causing a single bite to be lethal enough to turn someone into a zombie. This means that with a fresh batch of trioxin, and the vectors for transmission skyrocket. Now, if these theories hold, this would also mean there could have been a window of time where the gas had lost enough potency to allow the zombies trapped in the canisters to become active again. That would mean those canisters in the basement in the first movie, even if they didn't leak, were a time bomb waiting to go off. Oh yes, one other thing. Something I came across when I was digging up, doing my research for this show. This was rather interesting. Return of the Living Dead 2026. So we can watch the trailer here. If it wants to. Okay, good. I didn't lose my power. I won't turn the sound on for obvious reasons. Here we have a trailer for a new Living Dead movie. And that appears to be a tar man carrying a Christmas tree through ash or snow. I'm guessing snow. Just keeps going, huh? He must have really wanted that tree, huh? Yeah, see, Christmas is coming sooner and sooner nowadays. Now we've got Halloween in meshing with Christmas. This is supposed to be expected to come out November 13th, 2026. According to this little thing, it says taking place 18 months after the events of the Unita warehouse in Louisville, Kentucky. A new tracks in 245 leaks he puts into small Pennsylvania town on the brink of a zombie outbreak during Christmas in 1985. So I guess it's sort of a prequel, depending on how much you want the other Living Dead movies to be connected to this. Hmm. Seems to have a fairly small cast so far. We got looks like we have a little girl playing in here as Kindly Heeman, Sophie Horton, Devin Sawa as Isaac Horton, Alexander Ward playing the Tar Man. It's a different person playing the Tar Man than usual. I'm kind of surprised they didn't get Alan to come back since he's already done it three times already. And Casimir Jola as Delilah Horton. Now, see, the director and writer is Steve Walsh. Looking at his little IMDb page here, he doesn't have all that much under his belt. He only has 3 movies, and they're all slasher movies. So he knows horror slasher, so we could probably expect uh, this movie to be kind of a slasher vibe, would be my guess. But that's about all I have for tonight, so I'll send you over to Data the Grid, who me actually have already started. Yeah, he's got something going here already. We can go there. And well, may your brains be fresh and tasty.